Parenting style affects a child's literacy behavior, and that will in turn affect a child's literacy performance. There are four parenting styles: A. Authoritative parents, B. Authoritarian parents, C. Permissive parents, and D. Neglecting parents. For the purpose of our study, we will not be looking at neglecting parents. For neglecting parents are those who simply pay the child no attention at all, or if the child is given any attention, it's not sincere attention that would assist them. Maybe they provide food, clothing, shelter, but they don't communicate with the child, or they don't actively try to let the child develop in any way of learning. Authoritative parents tend to display balance in high control and high responsiveness, and they show warmth to their children when they set demands and expectations. They openly facilitate discussion through communication. Authoritative parents therefore set standards. However, they are mindful of the fact that the children are humans and they may not necessarily follow through with what is expected of them. So, authoritative parents will express some sort of balance and allow children to speak. They will facilitate discussion and they will allow for the child to get some time to respond. They will also allow children to ask questions. B. Authoritarian parents. Authoritarian parents have high demand for their children as well, but they do not value warmth and responsiveness. They value obedience and hostile control. So it's not to say that authoritative parents don't have control. They also have control, but the authoritarian parents are all about control, no discussion, no way of giving your opinion on the thing. It's just about obedience. The child should just do as is told. Studies have shown that children who came from authoritarian parents tend to have low self-esteem and lack of spontaneity. And when you have low self-esteem, you may not become a confident reader. You may not become the kind of person who would want to speak openly, especially when you're in group settings. You will also be the child who is not going to be willing to think for yourself because you're going to become dependent on whatever the adult tells you to do. So authoritarian parents, they are the ones who are most likely to allow children to lack spontaneity, and they will most likely lower child self-esteem. They are the ones who value control, but they are not offering any warmth, even though they're being controlling. Nothing is wrong with exercising control as a parent. However, allowance must be made for the child's responsiveness to what you're saying, and there must be warmth. The child must be able to see that mom cares or dad cares. That is why they are setting these standards. Permissive parents. They generally allow children to move freely and do whatever they desire. Permissive parents do not value punishment. This is associated with low responsibility and disregard to the children. They tend to overindulge their children. They may provide them with much affection, gifts, resources, and incentives, but arguably too much. So you may say that the permissive parent gives the child too much. Now, I know that too much is going to be relative, because some persons will say, I give my child what they need, and others will say, you're giving the child more than is necessary. But each parent will know when they're overindulging their child. Children from permissive parents do not learn how to self-regulate their own behaviors since their parents do not guide them. The children may seem to be independent learners, but they often lack self-reliance and self-control. For example, a parent may say, listen, I'm giving the child a tablet, I'm giving the child other learning devices, I ensure that they have audiobooks. However, this parent does not monitor what the child is actually downloading. So it would seem as if the child is actually being responsible, but really it's the parent who was most likely irresponsible and just allowing the child to do whatever. Now, children love when they're allowed to do whatever they desire. However, in such an environment, This parenting style will actually hinder literacy development, for after a while the child does not become an independent learner, and this becomes even more problematic when the child enters the school system. When it is that the child has to also associate with others in public, it becomes problematic, because if the child is not getting what he or she wants, not needs now, what the child wants, it becomes problematic, because they're used to getting all that they want and nothing less. That also allows the child sometimes not to think for themselves, because they can become so reliant on the parents for thinking for them. Studies have shown that the style of parenting will influence a child's literacy behavior. Parents should 1. Set the expectations for learning, 2. Be an example in showing the desired literacy behaviors, and 3. Provide the opportunities for the child to speak, listen, think, read, and write. It has already been proven by studies that being an authoritative parent is most likely to bring great results in a child's literacy developments. So strike that balance between high control and responsiveness. Try that balance between warmth and also between maintaining standards and setting expectations. It is necessary that children have standards, they have boundaries, but it's also necessary for them to also have warmth, care, affection, and encouragement is always critical when it comes to literacy learning. If they see the parent setting the expectation for learning, and the parent is also being an example as to what the literacy behavior should be, and they see the parents providing opportunities for them to speak, for them to listen, for them to think, for them to read and to write, they'll be more inclined to actually participate in literacy learning. A study was done in the USA, which included 181 parents of different ethnic backgrounds. However, they were primarily African American parents and their children of preschool age. The results showed that of the 181 families, the authoritative parenting style was positively associated with informal home literacy practices, such as reading books at home, but an authoritarian parenting style negatively impacted informal home reading practices. And you can check out that research by Bingham et al. 2017. So let me just explain this a bit. So there are some things that at home we can do. For example, basic things like just reading books. But what the study proved was that those who were of an authoritarian family or an authoritarian parenting style, they really never practice things like reading books at home. However, the parents who were authoritative parents actually facilitated reading at home. They were reading to their children and they were allowing their children to read at home. So there is a difference in terms of the impact of parenting style on a child. And if we want our children to become more literate, then the best parenting style to adapt would be that of being an authoritative parent. So try not to indulge children. Try not to give them everything that they want. Give them just what they need, and ensure that you're monitoring them. Ensure that you're facilitating meaningful literacy sessions with them by actually reading in the home, that actually speaking to them, allowing them to ask you questions, asking them questions, just allowing them to write as well, and to just express themselves in whatever form you can facilitate within the home.